You're listening to The Reel Down, sponsored by Ketch Photo Release Tournaments. This is your premier tournament source. Here are your hosts, Sam Jones and Dan Perry. Welcome back. This is The Reel Down on Paddle and Fin Podcast. We've got a couple epic guests for you tonight. Nate Mayfield of North Alabama Kayak Anglers and Brandon Ellis of Iron City Kayak Anglers. Going to be an epic episode for you guys. Looking forward to talking to these guys about their 2020 seasons and what they got going on. So should be an exciting episode. But before we get started with all of those goodies, Dan, my man, Detective Dan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Haven't been doing any fishing, so at least I'm getting to talk about fishing right now. This is my little Thanksgiving to Christmas family break that I do every year, so it builds up the anticipation where I really get to use all those Christmas presents. Hopefully, I asked Santa for. So, yeah, right now is I'm in that celibate stage of no fishing. I don't think celibate's the word, but okay.
Well,
but yeah, tonight.
Anyway,
how about you, man?
I'm good. We got Snowmageddon going on. Yeah. We got Snowmageddon going on up here in Indiana right now. So we got a few inches last night, and then the second round hitting us right now. You guys down there are getting some storms though, aren't you?
Yeah, tonight it's I don't know about up there in North Alabama, but tonight it's supposed to storm. So hopefully we don't lose power or anything while we're on here. But yeah, there's some storms coming through.
Okay. Well, Nate, Brandon, how you guys doing?
We're good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show. It's an all Alabama show. We're outnumbering you tonight, Sam, 3-1. So
I know. I don't know what to do. I always find a way to talk about Hoosier kayak bassing somehow. So I guess I'll fit it in somewhere.
Fit it in there. Yeah, there you go. You already did.
But no, I'm excited about tonight because I'm going to be going to Alabama, this coming season quite a bit on the national level, tour level. So we've got Hobie events there, KBF events there, and bass events there. So on top of what I hear is an already amazing local kayak fishing community down there, it's going to be a lot of people coming from all over to fish some trophy lakes down there, and I'm excited about it. So I'm looking forward to tonight's episode, and I'm going to try and get some intel afterwards after the show's done and we're no longer live on some of these lakes that'll help me out. So
Nate knows Gunnersville. Since you're fishing the national championship, he can hook you up with that.
Okay. Well, from now on, don't tell anybody anything further in this show. I don't want everybody hitting Nate up for intel. That's my guy. So,
But yeah,
these the good places to eat. I don't know about the good places to catch fish.
I like good food too. Good food, good fishing, family, God. That's me, man.
I was going to say, Gunnersville's got a little bit of everything, doesn't it? So a lot of good camping, a lot of good food, good mountains, all the good fish.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking to my heart. So.
But yeah, we wanted to have these two guys on tonight because y'all are two of the, most respected tournament directors in Alabama. Been doing it the longest amount of time, so we definitely have the right people on the show. I guess we'll start with you, Brandon. Tell us about yourself. How did you get into kayak fishing?
Oddly enough, so I had a bass boat fished actually in the Bass Nation for a while with a club here in Birmingham. And after our third kid, realized I wasn't using my bass boat that much. And so I had a friend of mine invite me to go kayak fishing. Oddly enough, we went up to the Flint for the first time and fished with Robert Brown. Had a great time. Found some guy that was selling a Coosa for dirt cheap and found this club called NACA. And Nate's brother David actually convinced me for about 2 weeks to come and fish the tournament with him. So having never put my butt in a Coosa, having never really fished Gunnersville from a kayak, had never been to, where were we at that first, where was that first launch day? I don't remember. Mud Creek. Have never been to Mud Creek, period. Went up there and fished with NACA and loved it. And so that kind of hooked me at that point. Had a great time with those guys, met some good people, and kind of fished with NACA kind of more in the Birmingham area. As we actually had like a little throwdown group in Birmingham. And then after that, with Nate's permission, having talked with NACA, we founded Iron City from a group of guys that were used to fishing NACA and just couldn't make the drive all the time, the 2-hour drive up there. So when you talk about Alabama kayak fishing, Nate Mayfield is the godfather of it, and NACA is where everybody in our entire state started from at some point in time. So he's legitimately the expert. I think we had 60 plus guys at that tournament. He's had over 100 at one point in time. So Nate's the guy. Nate's the one that's really kind of fired the passion in a lot of us.
And how long has Iron City been around?
I think we're coming up on our 5th year. So okay. I think we're about 1 or 2 years younger than NACA is. And so Iron City, we can start up in the Bass Pro Shops. We had a meeting at the deli counter at the Bass Pro Shops here and decided to start Iron City with Nate's permission and blessing, actually. And, we had a pretty good turnout the first couple of years and had some absolute hammers in the club that, kind of pushed it along. So 5 years later, that's a little bit different than it was than we started, but really enjoying it.
Cool. And what do you do whenever you're not out on the water?
Oh gosh, we've got 4 kids, so we have a lot of
Lord,
a lot of stuff.
Slow down, man.
Absolutely, but spend a lot of time with them. Do a lot of kind of outdoor stuff. Work, do supply chain management for a local healthcare company. But really try to spend as much time with the kids outdoors as possible. That's one of the things we really push. Iron City, NACA's done the same thing as well. Is get your kids out and get your kids involved.
Yeah. All right, Nate, your turn there, Godfather.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Dave, my brother, and I were trying to talk my dad into selling us his bass boat. It was the winter of 2011, and he said, he wouldn't sell it to us, and he said, if I was a younger man, I'd buy a fishing kayak. And Dave and I, neither one had ever even heard of a fishing kayak, and we'd fished out of canoes and stuff, but I'd never thought about fishing out of kayak. So we got on our phones and started Googling it, and there weren't very many back then. I found a Hobie PA-14 and ended up buying it from California and having it shipped over. And
wow.
David bought a Jackson boat, had it about 4 months later, and we started what would end up being NACA. We started it in April of 2012, and really there's about 6 of us, and we just kind of started. We just went and fished together, and that's really all we did. And it kind of steadily grew, and some guys kind of got involved. We did some small little gatherings on Gunnersville and on the Flint River, and this Eric Atkins is really the brains behind most of the stuff, but he just annoyed the hell out of David and I until we agreed to put a tournament on, like a real paying tournament. And we figured, man, we would be ecstatic with about 20 guys or so. And we set it all up at Mud Creek, and 60 something guys showed up, and we had no idea what we were doing. It was nuts. And I mean, the whole parking lot and the whole back of the restaurant was packed with boats.
Yeah.
And nobody ever seen anything like it. We certainly hadn't. And basically we've from then it's just, we've been fortunate to really tap into just kind of a really neat little community and a neat vibe. And I like to tell people our tournaments are kind of like club socials. They're just, we all get together and give each other a hard time. And, if you're fortunate enough to win one of our tournaments, you basically get made fun of for the next 30 days until the next tournament. I mean, you get abused online and picked on, and it's a great little vibe, and we love it. And we're fortunate enough to have the support of several, great companies that support us and kind of give away prizes. And it's kind of become part of the club culture that, there's a saying in NACA that I'm just here for the drawings. Guys come to the weigh-ins, but they all sit there and make fun of each other, and everybody's just there for the drawing. That's, nobody really cares to win. I know they care to win, but it's not like hyper competitive. It's just really, really fun social vibe, and we love it. And we've expanded over the years. We've added a full youth trail, which we love. And I mean, just getting the kids out and seeing them catch fish. And we've added our little spring tackle swap in that we do at the beginning of the season has gotten huge. We do it at a high school gym, and it's basically like a huge bass fishing and kayaking yard sale. And we have what I think I'm proudest of our little group is we've got lots of different things that we're into. I mean, we've got the throwdown tournaments, we've got our trail, we've got our big Angler of the Year stuff, and we're fortunate to have awesome participation in those things. Like Brandon said, we're 60 to 100 guys at almost every tournament, and but everybody gets along. It's a great vibe, and then we're able to get into these things with the youth, with demos, with garbage and litter cleanups during the summer. We've got a great community here that we're proud to be a part of.
And other than selling bump stickers, what do you do for work, for money?
Incidentally,
he sells kayaks too.
So I sell appliances to builders and architects, designers, and stuff. So I get to go around and shoot the bull and talk to awesome people all day. That's my job. So I enjoy it.
Cool. Well, dang, definitely have the two guys been doing it for a long time on here, and
I didn't realize Mud Creek was the first one, by the way. I thought you guys,
that
was one of the most polished events I have ever seen. Even going back to like the Bass Nation stuff, that was a really polished event. So you guys did a great job on that. I didn't realize it was the first one. It didn't look like you didn't know what you were doing. I'll say that.
Well, we totally didn't. We were completely like behind the scenes freaking out. And I'd like to point out too, just to give reference to Brandon's character. I think the world of him. So Brandon ended up winning that tournament. He didn't tell you that, but I will. And
that was pure luck, by the way.
In the middle of that tournament, he stopped for about an hour and helped a kid, right? A younger guy. He helped a younger guy get on some fish for several minutes, 30 minutes or more. He stopped and gave him some tips and showed this guy where to catch fish. And then, in competition, in the middle of competition, and certainly at competition, he ended up winning. He took time out to do that. So I knew he and I were going to get along good from the first time I met him.
That was a great group of guys there. It really was. And it was insane. I think the coolest part of that tournament, it was cold that morning. And somehow, and a lot of guys, their first tournament, and nobody managed to flip a boat. It was pretty impressive overall. So.
Now, this was 2012. Is that what you said? 2012?
So we started the club, in 2012. Our first tournament would have been in the spring in 2013.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Here we are getting ready to go into the 2020 season. So, that's a lot of years of experience right there. What do you think has been the best part of all of that? So out of all those years and all those experiences, and all the different champions and anglers of the year at different lakes you've fished at and all these different events, what's been the best thing for you? If you had one takeaway from those years, what would it be?
Man, that's a tough one.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah. I think, honestly, so I'm going to go to the classic we have at the Coosa every year, and I think it may or may not change this year, the location. But what you have is 4 to 5 local clubs with their unique flavor come together and fish at a common event. And we draw 60-plus guys from across the state. Some guys are coming from Georgia and Tennessee as well to come and fish this thing. And to Nate's point, it's because we've done such a great job of having community across the state, and Facebook's helped that tremendously as well, because you can join different groups and talk. You're coming around there and hanging out with a bunch of guys that are like-minded There's very little, I mean, drama, if anything. Everyone looks forward to coming and hanging out at that event. And I'm trying to think, Nate, if we've ever had, there's hardly ever any real disagreements on it either. It just goes off without a hitch, and you've got all these guys coming in just to hang out. And so I think that we're proudest of that there has been this statewide community grown because of NACA and the way NACA kicked off and how it was infectious and spread to different areas, that you can enjoy a statewide, fairly autonomous, tournament at the end of the year at a gorgeous place, and it goes without a hitch for the most part.
And that's something, a little background on that. We have a championship division, like you said, the Alabama State Classic. The top 10 from each club get invited into the championship, and then there's also open, so anybody can fish in that. And these two men are also tournament directors for that.
Yeah, I think the proudest thing I am, I can't say that I really planned it from the beginning, but once I felt it, I knew that's what we wanted. But I'm proudest of just kind of our vibe, our culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really friendly for new people coming in. It's friendly for really competitive guys in the middle. We have a good vibe, and guys genuinely enjoy each other's company. And I'll tell you, my very favorite experience related to it is a little different, but one of our very first youth tournaments, we had 12 boys and we're fishing, and the fishing was a little tough, and they weren't really catching much. And I saw something that reminded me of why I got into fishing. But one of the kids caught a fish while the other boys had got out and were playing in the water and throwing rocks. Kid a few yards away caught a fish, and every one of those boys turned around, watched him, and then hopped in their boats and grabbed their rods and reels and started grinding. And without anybody saying a thing. And I thought, you know what? That's what it's about. I mean, they're having fun. They're having lunch together. Somebody caught a fish, and it all went away. It was time to go fish again. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
It's a great culture
awesome.
in our area. It really is a great culture across all the groups.
What do you think drives that?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Dan. I'm curious. What do you think drives that? We've talked about this a little bit with other tournament directors, and that's the common thread. And Dan's pointed that out in previous episodes. When we're talking to tournament directors, great tournament directors, that common thread is the culture. What do you think contributes to that? Because, I mean, let's be honest. Right now, there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of bickering, a lot of negative outlooks on things in the kayak industry right now, and the fishing industry as a whole right now. It's ridiculous to me how much drama there is, and I don't want to talk about the drama. I want to talk about this awesome culture you guys have. What do you think is the biggest contributor to that? And furthermore, maybe for people who are struggling a little bit with that culture in their clubs, how do you think they can build upon?
For
going
us,
deep.
We had our hard times too. I mean, when we initially formed a board, we had a lot of guys that were really, really awesome and were really strong opinions, and they were all right. We could have gone any direction, and I probably, looking back, I wish I would handled some of that stuff differently, but I didn't. And there were some things where some guys probably didn't get everything they wanted out of NACA, or everything they deserved out of it. But we tried to learn from it. We tried to grow, and we tried to adapt. And I think as a club director or a tournament director, one of the things that we try to do is, we try to listen. We try to ask guys' opinions, and where possible, we try to adapt. And but I think once we identified, what we wanted and what we were, what our identity was. I tell people this, and whether people believe it or not, but if I have 25 friends show up to fish with me on a tournament, or 125, I'm happy. I'm totally stoked. It doesn't affect me one way or another. And I think once we kind of realized that about ourselves, and realized, if I have 25 good friends that want to come and fish with us on a Saturday, and we have fun and tease each other, or we have 125 and we have just as much fun, and we're comfortable with it either way. Once we kind of realize, that's really what we are, it was easy. I mean, we just keep that same vibe, and that's kind of what's worked for us. And I don't know, Brandon may have a different experience, but for us, once we realized what we were, we just stuck with it.
That's very true. We had a lot of challenges as well after the first 2 years, and then kind of survived through that by listening to guys, adapting to what they wanted to have. I mean, to Nate's point, we could have gone 100% just go fun little jackpot tournaments, or 100%, let's go full bore, tournament trail. But listening to the guys as a whole and kind of blending those two together was very helpful. So I think there's a lot of respect that all of the groups have for each other, that all the Facebook members have for each other as well, which helps. Honestly, a lot of thick skin for some guys that are willing to take some good natured ribbing and understand that a lot of times people are just being, what's the word, keyboard jockeys, just for fun. It's nothing's malicious about it. And once you get past some of that kind of stuff, the respect factor shows up, and you see a lot of guys willing to engage. But yeah, they're willing to hear the different opinions and adapt to it. I mean, you and I went and fished inland for that tournament. Who would have thought we would have gone and fished inland this year? It was a terrible place for all of us. We put a poll out.
It's a beautiful place, though.
It's a beautiful place.
It's
like you and I
first time I've ever been there.
Our depth finders and saw like 9,000 feet. Like, we have nothing. What are we going to do with this? But surprisingly, we put the poll up this year. Where do you guys want to go back to? That was like number 2 on the list. So be willing to understand there's different experiences other than your own was big to it.
What are some things that you've seen, if you can give advice, because we've been doing a whole series of tournament directors. What are maybe some advice that you can give to other tournament directors on how they can be better, or something that they might be doing wrong, at maybe a mistake that you've made that you don't want them to make? Is there anything you can think of?
Don't try to be another trail. Yeah. Don't try to be another trail. Be your own.
Yep. 100%. Kind of find out what works for your guys, what your guys like, and 100% put your own identity, your own stamp on it. I mean, when Brandon and I talked about him starting Iron City and stuff, I mean, that was something I shared with him as well, and I've shared with other clubs that have asked advice. Is, kind of be your own thing. Try stuff. Don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to experiment, but kind of be your own thing, and don't try to compare yourself to other clubs, and just kind of, again, find your own culture, your own identity. And there are some things that you could carry over, for us. Those things in addition, I was very reluctant to be labeled a tournament club. I never wanted to be a club that's all we did. We had tournaments and then we never talked to each other. So for me, it was important for us to find these other avenues to hang out and socialize, like our tackle swap, like our demo days, like our trash cleanup stuff. It was important for me, or to me, to kind of add those things so that we had something besides, hey, we're just a tournament club. But other clubs may have different things, and same thing for us with our youth trail. That's something that's important to a few of us, but your club may not be. And so just kind of like Brandon said, be you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do your own thing. I think especially if you're starting a new trail up, I think it's important to talk to the other people that have established trails in your area as well, for 2 reasons. One, you can usually get some great advice from them as well, because they've seen the market, if you will, and they understand market condition. But secondly, you want to understand and make sure that you have their permission as well, because in their blessing, I don't say permission is probably a bad word, but like that you share your vision, you understand where they're coming from, because you're going to ultimately try to unintentionally, you're going to take members from that group as well, right? And so you don't want to create bad blood between 2 different tournament groups. You're going to share members. You should go fish different trails. I mean, Brandon Watson fished a lot in Iron City, and he's fished a lot inside of NACA. We're not going to get upset that he went and crossed into another tournament trail. We should be excited about his success.
He should go fish in another state, I mean,
Well, he did.
He's so good.
Too.
He should go away. Yeah.
But no, that's the point. Like, you're going to have to share members at some point in time, and you want to make sure there's no bad blood, because you're going to see each other all the time, and you don't want to create friction and drama in the community if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
And if Nate had told us, if Nate had said, "Look, no, the time's not right, please don't do it," we would have backed off that day. We really would have, and maybe come back at it in another year. But you be respectful of what's already been up there and established.
So speaking on what makes your club, staying in your lane and being good at what you're at, what are y'all going to do with motors this year? I saw Nate, you put up a post.
I heard some rumors
in North Alabama group.
Yeah.
You got any announcements to make?
No, I try to be open.
Get the feedback.
And each off season, I'll think of things that are kind of hot topics. That was one of them. And there's been others, and I try to post them up and just kind of get a feel for guys. And, truthfully, there are some that disagree, but a lot of guys that have been in it as long as I have are, there's a lot of them that are purists that came from the whitewater paddling side, and they're paddling that fish, and, I paddle to get to the dumbest fish possible, and that's what I'll tell people when they ask me about kayaking. I don't want to fish a really smart fish, that's seen every lure under the sun and seen 14 bass boats. I want the dumb fish. That's the fish that I need. And so I paddle to get to the dumbest fish possible. But I'm not a purist. I mean, I personally, especially as I've gotten into the saltwater fishing and other stuff, man, I'll slide into something with a motor and a heartbeat. But there's some things to consider there relative to, what we're trying to be. Are we trying to be a grassroots type tournament that is very inclusive and very easy for someone new to the sport to slide into and feel like that they have, some level of competitiveness. And so, we probably will stay as a paddle only club. But I am personally, not against slapping a Torpedo on a boat to cover water down in the marsh of Louisiana, or, something like that myself. You may see me do that, relatively soon, but we've got to kind of try to figure
Christmas.
out again, trying to stick with our culture. We know what we are. We know we're a minor league, fun entry level club in Alabama, and we kind of know what we are. So,
Brandon.
Well, I mean, I'm a little bit more, I guess, hardcore than Nate is in that space. I'm definitely a paddle only guy, and I have no intentions of ever putting a motor on the boat whatsoever. But I'm mostly a creek fisherman too, so there's no real place for that. It's kind of hard to take your Torpedo and drag it over a shoal. But I mean, we've heard some guys that want to fish motors in the club, and I don't think the groundswell has been so large that it needs to be addressed just yet. But from a tournament director's perspective, if you have a big enough group of people that want to do it, I think it's something that you have to listen to as a whole. But we have an occasional onesie twosie request for it, but we really don't. By and large, we don't have a lot of guys ask for it. There's not this shouting from the rooftops, but that's nice to have. But man, I don't know. When boats start becoming to be like $3,000 and $4,000, I start going, well, you can just go buy a decent bass tractor for that. So kayak fishing to me was this simple, less than $1,000, very limited tackle, simplistic view, and so that's kind of where I kind of feel like we like to keep the club in for the most part. But certainly we'll listen to it.
It almost seems for us like now here in Alabama, there's so many regional and national level tournaments that allow motors that, like you really don't. It's not so much of a question anymore because people can go fish at stuff if they want to have a motor. But
that's kind of what we felt too. We felt like we're, if a guy has a desire to do that, I certainly can understand and certainly relate to the advantages that come with it. My very first kayak was a PA-14, like I said, and I mean, you just flat out could cover so much water versus paddling and in a motor even more so. And so I get it. I just think that there's opportunities for them out there to like you said, to be able to take advantage of that itch. And I believe that we'll, for the foreseeable future, we'll continue to be as inviting to new guys as we can be.
Yeah, I didn't ask what kind of boats do y'all have now?
So I've got a Mayfly and a new canoe Flint.
Okay, Brandon.
I've got
maybe a
Old
Hobie
Town?
soon.
maybe a Hobie soon. We're going to
360.
talk about Mayfield kayak sales
Big money.
in any point in time.
No, that's Mayfield kayak sales hasn't been part of this discussion yet.
Yeah, between David and myself, and I think Nate, we sold a whole lot of boats for a few years. We would just go through boats all the time. But so right now I've got a Jackson Kilroy, have a Old Town Predator 13, and then I found an old Jackson Tripper, which has been a lot of fun too. It weighs about 40 pounds, and that's been fun to kind of drag around the creeks. So that's what we're running at the moment.
That's what I want, a little creek boat.
That you give new people today, where you say, demo, try a boat out, demo. Yeah. I didn't follow any of that advice early on. I mean, I went through. I had Wildy 135s, 115s, had every boat Jackson ever made, bought and sold. And yeah, it's I'd buy a boat without even paddling it, and then use it for months, and then sell it, and that's kind of where that whole joke from Mayfield kayak sales came from. And but I'm in remission. I've had my Mayfly for about 2 years, so
you've had it a couple of years.
Pretty good. That's by far the longest I've ever kept a boat. So.
Yeah, and that's my biggest gripe about kayak fishing. Honestly, it's the fact that it's so impossible to actually go and demo a boat. It really is. Like, you can go and run a skater if you want to, but and test drive it. It is hard to demo a kayak anywhere. Like, we've got kayaks that we sell at Bass Pro Shop over here. They've got a lake, but they won't let you put the kayak in the lake and test it. That doesn't make any sense to me. So you wind up buying boats and selling them all the time.
Yeah. And we just got a new store here in Pelham, here in Central Alabama, south of Birmingham, and maybe they'll have demo days. But before that, there was nowhere in our area where you could even demo a boat if you want to, unless you went at least an hour and a half down to Coosa River Adventures, or you came up there to North Alabama. Yeah,
I think Josh at Big Wheels would let you demo at one point in time, but I can't think of anybody else that would let you demo.
We're lucky here in Indiana. We've got Moving Water Outfitters. They have New Canoe, Bonafide, Jackson, and some others, and they do during the warmer months. I mean, they do a demo. It seems like every month, demo days, and then if you can't make one of those demo days and you really want to try something out, they'll get you on the water with something, which is great. And then of course they've got their team throughout the state that you can hit up. And the guy lives in Southern Indiana, wants to try out a Jackson, they'll find a team member that's got one and put them in it, so that's pretty cool. So I see some places it may be better than others, but I definitely understand what you're saying. Like, when I started getting into it, I had no idea how to demo a boat, didn't know anybody in the industry at that point, really. And so I just did a lot of YouTube and a lot of reading, and ended up going with, the Bonafide. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Totally. It can be difficult, but I think that's part of the fun too, right? Like with the kayak thing, you talked about being in the bass boat side, and so was I. And you can't just go grab another bass boat, and try out different manufacturers. So the kayak, you can turn around and sell your kayak for about what you have in it, and go get something else. And that's part of the fun, modding them and playing with them. So
that's one of the cool things that NACA did at one point in time too, is they started doing an actual demo day where you would bring all of your boats, and you could try out any boat that whatever the members had. We did it for a couple of years too. Mark's Outdoors helped us out a little bit with that and brought their brand new boats in. But you guys have had a tremendous success with demo day, and I think a lot of people figured out what they wanted or didn't want from that.
Yeah, it's been really cool. We've got a really good location the last 2 years that we've done it, and we've had probably 25 to 50 people from just general public that just drive by and see the sign that says kayak demo and pull over and come in and try boats. And I mean, and you got everything under the sun there,
Yeah.
guys, rigged out boats. I mean, power poles, everything, and people can, go and see accessories, see how it's rigged out for a tournament, paddle it around, and we do it Memorial Day weekend, Saturday, but before Memorial Day every year, and yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy that event a great deal, and a lot of the dealers get involved and come down and set up, and we'll kind of talk to people, and we've even expanded it where we'll do like little demo classes. We've had some guys come and teach some classes about like crankbait fishing. Craig Dye from Nashville came down and talked to us about that, and we've had some guys come and teach some finesse classes, and it's a cool little event, and it just, there's no way that you could go somewhere and paddle just about every boat made, in one setting. I mean, there'll be 50 different kayaks there. It's cool. It's a cool event.
Yes, it's the CarMax of kayak fishing.
Yeah.
All right, so another big topic that we've been talking to a lot of people about is the Bass Nation. Bass announcing that they're going to do their big tour this year, and how that's going to filter down to the grassroots level, and then people will be able to work their way up to, to fish the events they're going to be in conjunction with the Classic. Is either North Alabama, Iron City, or the state level? Do y'all know right now that if it's going to be affiliated with BASS and the Nation?
We're in talks. Brandon and I talked earlier this week, and we've got to talk with the guys from Coosa and the guys from Coleman, I think, are on board. But we're leaning towards a state affiliation where we kind of give guys the opportunity to qualify through the clubs for the state championship, and then qualify for the Bassmaster Classic through the Alabama State Classic. And we feel like that's a kind of a way where we can do it without having to radically alter our rules and other things like that. And it sounds like BASS is going to give us kind of the latitude to be able to do it that way. And from what I understand, that's how Tennessee is going to be doing theirs. And those guys really are the cutting edge of club tournament scene. I mean, they're so well organized. Their tournament directors are all just absolute studs, and they've been a ton of help to us over the years. And so we'd be crazy not to kind of watch what they do and maybe think about it. But that's the way we're leaning right now, is doing it at the state level, allow guys to kind of keep their club identities, and then come together at that end of the year, and probably the championship division, let guys qualify for that Bassmaster Classic spot through that.
Yeah, and and back to what we were talking about earlier, I mean, I think this year, with it being so short overall to put something together, I think that's probably the best route to go. Understanding that as your membership as a whole changes and you get more feedback, we'll dial that in a little bit more as we go throughout. Could the clubs one day become BASS affiliated? Sure. I mean, Iron City started out as a BASS Nation club. Actually, our very first tournament, we were affiliated with the Bass Federation and Eddie Plemons and those guys as well. And we were trying to get some interest in that. And the membership at the time wasn't ready for it. I think it's a bit more open now to clubs being actually, fully Bass affiliate, but I think it's going to take hearing what the membership wants to do as a whole, and maybe tweaking and adjusting as we go. But I think the right path right now is to have the state club, if you will, and then let the clubs kind of over time dial in what they want to do long term. It's the best of both worlds in our case. Yeah.
All right. Do you have any questions about that, Sam? I know you're thinking, there's a lot of that going on. This conversation's going on with tournament directors that we've talked to all over the country.
Yeah, and honestly, Bass has been great about approaching people. I want to make sure we put that out there. They have been very helpful and considerate in talking about what's best for the clubs and about people in general. It hasn't been a hostile takeover or anything.
I think that's the important part, is that we with anything, we've had some dealings with KBF and KBS and the Hobie guys. And I think that the biggest thing there with any of those big regional trails is, any affiliation is allow us to kind of keep our identity, allow us to kind of do our tournaments our way with maybe just an exception or two. And then, give us the opportunity to send some of our bigger sticks, on to fish in your event. And I think that that's really a path to success for them. We'll see if they kind of keep going that way. But right now, that's the vibe I'm getting from them is that we kind of can kind of keep our own identity and
supplement. Yeah,
I think it's one of those things where everybody's kind of understanding that this is the first year, and we've got to see how this is all going to iron out. I know here in Indiana, there's definitely some conversations going on. I'm not in a place where I can really talk about details of that, but there's definitely some conversation going on and trending kind of like what you guys are talking about. So hopefully I'll have more details on that here in the near future. But I'm excited about it personally. I'm a big fan of bass for all the reasons that you guys just stated, and I think it's going to be a good thing. I just think there's some growing pains that we'll have for the first year or so until we get those things ironed out like you guys discussed. But yeah, I don't have anything further on that other than I'm excited to see this sport continue to grow, and this is the next step in that, I think. So loving it.
Have you guys had any challenges to the rules up in your part of the world? We're down here, we have a couple rules the guys are a little kind of fuzzy on, like you can't leave your boat, which takes out a lot of creeks in our area, which guys are a little like unsure about. And if you guys heard any feedback on your side?
I don't know that conversation's come up just yet. Again, I'm not really in a place to discuss too much on it right now, but there's definitely conversations going on. Honestly, we don't have a lot of creek and river type fishing here tournament wise. We've got the White River, which is a big event every year for one of our groups. And then our other group has one as well, but it's not where you have to stay in your boat or anything like that. So we don't have any rules or any major issues that have come up just yet. It's been more, like the fees and, which club's going to kind of take it and how we're going to formulate the qualifications and those sort of things. But right now, I think for most people, it's the same. It's kind of, each club runs independently and filters those guys up to quote unquote state championship. But again, I don't have all the details yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. So let's go over y'all's schedule first with Iron City on the tournament side. The first is Logan Martin in February 29th. Is that right before the bass event? Or?
Yeah, we may have done that intentionally.
Yes, it is.
It's right before the Classic. Yeah.
I like
February 29th, huh?
So if y'all want to come down and fish with us, we will let you know.
I'm marking that down now. What's the entry? What's the entry fee for your guys' tournaments?
I think this year it's 30. Yeah, 30 for the big tournaments. Yeah.
And is there a membership fee for your group?
No, not at all. We intentionally leave it open.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So Logan Martin, the 29th, right before the Classic. That's awesome. What's your next one?
So this is it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah. So kayaking for a cure, and I'm not sure if you guys are into this or not. It's the one that Cornelius is putting on in March 14th. We got a couple of the different clubs that are doing a charity tournament. That's something that was very important for us to do throughout the entire years of Iron City. We want to be involved with at least one or two charity events a year. So that's probably not going to be a points events for us, but one we will certainly promote. And it'll be held kind of weird. It's Coleman, Alabama, and every county that borders Coleman County is fair game. So that's Gunnersville, Smith, some of the famous rivers around here as well.
Very cool.
Do you want to do them? You can.
No, you go ahead. No, that was
okay.
I wanted to plug that one specifically, but
Cool. Yeah. The next is a throwdown on bib.
Mhm.
I went and fished there not too long ago. I missed a giant. I mean, it had to have been the dumbest dang fish in the world because he didn't even get close. He was just mad at it.
That's
I
when
don't know.
everybody was excited about this year was bib, and it was
Yeah.
I don't think there's any fish there, so I think you're lying, but that's okay. You guys have
That's a
fun with
small. I mean, I only caught like two, but I had one monster blow up.
Yeah.
There's definitely at least one
I
big
only
fish in
caught
there.
two, but there was that blow up.
Yeah.
One. I mean, it was a big.
That's
Next
10
is
pounder.
inland,
Sure.
which I yeah. I don't know why anybody would choose inland. It's a beautiful lake, but
It's
uh,
such a weird place. We launched. It was literally 190 foot deep where we launched. I was exaggerating here, but 190 foot deep. We couldn't find, like, majority of the people zeroed. By the time the tournament was over, we had like tornadoes showing up. We drove through torrential downpours to get to the barbecue restaurant.
was
Everybody
bad.
was exhausted, beat to pieces. One guy catches a miracle fish at the end that wins a tournament for him, and everyone's like, "We want to go back." And I don't know why, but that's exciting that they were excited about it, and we'll put it back on the schedule again this year.
and it's the whole water supply for Birmingham, so it's just
Yeah,
a
it's
big,
weird.
stupid, beautiful
So,
lake.
so
but-
it's just a big quarry that was dug out then, and or what?
I am not 100% sure
Yeah,
what
I
its
don't know.
origins are, but it is a massive reservoir for the state or for the city.
So spotted bass lake or
Yeah, it has
I
a
have
bunch
no
of
idea.
little bitty spots.
I didn't catch
Gotcha.
crap.
I
I went looking
yeah,
for
it's-
alligators halfway through the tournament just to get a picture of one. That's what I did. So
Yeah, there's
Huh.
there's one big one that lives on the lake somewhere, but it's got spots in largemouth. But next is Oak Mountain State Park in May.
Mhm. Correct.
That's our state park right by me. I like that, but there's also very few fish in there. Then in June, Smith Lake, which that's probably the most beautiful lake in the state, you'd have to say. Beautiful clear water, big spots. I actually fished a North Alabama tournament there, the first one last year. I decided to choose Smith. Next is Walker County Lake in July, and then Lake Mitchell and Clanton in was that August, Lay
Mhm.
Lake in September, and then the state championships also going to be in September. Is that right?
I think it's late September. Is that right?
It looks like late September is when we'll be doing that one.
Have y'all decided where it's going to be yet?
We think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still working out
it's a
details.
good try. Good
Yeah.
try.
Well,
So
you don't have to worry about me. I've gotten seventh the last 2 years. I can't do any better than seventh.
Well, what you got is you get a whole bunch of tournament directors and guys trying to decide what to do for an event that's 12 months away. We're probably not going to decide very quickly. So
Yeah.
it'll take us a little bit.
So I have to be honest. I was expecting a lot of different lake names and didn't hear hardly any of them. I'm not familiar with any of those lakes. I'm the outsider here, so those aren't the Gunnersvilles and
Yeah.
Lewis and Pickwicks and those Wilsons, those bigger names that we hear and see in the
Well,
bass fishing industry. So
I said Smith Lake, and that's Lewis Smith Lake, right? Isn't that the?
That's right.
It is.
Yeah.
So what we
Yeah.
try to do in general is we take we put a pin in the middle of Birmingham and we draw about an hour to an hour, 15-minute circumference around there. And we say, what's in that area? So like Pickwick, Gunnersville, some of those that you're talking about are more in Nate's kind of area.
okay.
Mitchell is stretching it for us. We try to keep it within about an hour of the Birmingham City Center so guys can have time they don't have to dedicate 4 hours travel to and from an event. They can still spend time with their families. We've got a good mix. Daniel mentioned the throwdown, a good mix of full tournaments, 5 a.m. to 3 p.m., but also some shorter events. So you can still make baseball games, weddings, whatever else you want to make during the season.
And
Nice.
Lay
I like
Lake,
it.
that's where there's been, a bunch of Bassmaster Classics there. My mother and father-in-law, I'm fortunate that they live right on Beeswax Creek, right by where KVD won the '09 Classic. So that's probably that and Smith are the two that some people have heard of. Mitchell, that's another good lake just south of Lay on the Coosa.
Yeah.
But and Lay and Mitchell are both part of the Coosa River. But the Mitchell's a little bit smaller lake. Well, it's a lot smaller lake, so you don't get many big tournaments there. It's a great lake and giant spots in there, but it's just not a real known lake because of its size.
There's a lot of these little small quirky lakes on here because that's where the guys, to the next point, new guys getting in, they're running probably a little bit cheaper boat and they want a lower entry fee and they want to go fish their little home jackpot waters that are these small municipal, reservoirs. And that's so they popped up on the list this year.
Yeah.
I like it. So speaking of the Coosa River chain, correct me if I'm wrong, is Hobie doing an event in that area?
Yeah, actually, what they're doing, they haven't set the boundaries right now, but they're doing it out of Gadsden, which would be Neely Henry. So how it works is you have Neely Henry, and then it's just separated by dams. Below that's Logan Martin, below that's Lay, below that's Mitchell. So it's just all the Coosa River, but they're just separated by dams. And
similar to Chick and then
all the Tennessee, Nick Jack, Pickwick, Wilson, Wheeler. But so they haven't set the boundaries on the Hobie yet, but Gadsden, that's Neely Henry. I've actually never fished that section, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that one I think is like October. That was one that I was kind of interested in possibly doing, but I'm not too familiar with the Coosa River chain, to be honest. So that's something that this year I want to explore.
If you do good on Logan Martin, it's pretty much the same thing, I guess.
That's kind of what I'm hearing.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Nate, NACA. March 21st, you got the Open on Gunnersville. Dun, 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 the big G.
Yeah, that's our big tournament every year. That'll be the one. Lots of camping, lots of overeating on Friday night, and lots of regrets on Saturday morning when we're trying to find the King Johnny or Porta Johns before you get on the water. But that is one of our absolute favorite events. We do it at Gunnersville every year, and it's always a great turnout. And then we're going to support. It's not a points event, but we're going to support the kayak tournament in Coleman, for cancer benefit. And then we're hitting Weiss Lake again, and in May, and then going back to my favorite lake, Pickwick and Wilson, in June. We do a river stop almost every summer, where it's a tournament, but everybody's fishing their favorite moving water, small water float. And that's really well participated for us. It's kind of become part of our culture. Guys like it. And it's fun to see, you'll get some guys that are primarily lake guys that'll get them out on some skinny water and let them kind of fall in love with the creeks and the rivers like the rest of us have. And then, then we have our big invitational classic in early September, where guys have to win one of our tournaments or win one of our big bass tournaments or be in our top 15 angler of the year to be able to participate. And that's always a blast. I mean, it's a smaller tournament. It's only about, 35, 40 guys. And, but it's a ton of fun. And you take a whole lot of abuse if you win that tournament. That's the one that'll get you made fun of for a whole year. And, but that's we'll have our youth trails and things up and our other stuff in, but that's our big trail this year. And we always try to fish, several of we feel like we got to fish Gunnersville, and we love to fish Pickwick. And if we have to, we'll fish Wheeler. And, but we'll mix in a Smith Lake or a Weiss or something like that, a wild card lake every year.
So one thing that we've heard from some other clubs, and like Sam here, he did a tournament not too long ago. It was for charity, the Turkey Bowl up there, that they had a lot of people come out for. It was a team tournament. Is that something that y'all have ever thought about doing? Like they would have 3 or 4 different boats and they all fish together, and it's just against different teams. It just seemed like a fun format, and I've never heard of anybody doing it in Alabama, and just thought I'd ask if that's something y'all had ever thought of.
Had some guys throw it out there. We just haven't. I I don't know that it's taken off yet. The interest hasn't been as exciting in the Birmingham metro area for it. But yeah, I think I think it's interesting. I want to see how it's pulled off. We'll see what happens.
We've done it in some throwdowns, never in a trail, but we've done it in throwdowns before.
I guess it wouldn't work with the regular trail because the points wouldn't work, and for throwdowns, something different.
But you mean I'll let you the same challenge to you that I did to some of the guys in the club.
Uh-oh.
If you've got an idea and you want to do it, well, put it together. We've got plenty of open dates. Put it together. Let's make it happen.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see what I can do.
Yeah, always looking for different ideas.
All right.
Who knows?
Well,
it may wind up being something we put in there.
I think
for
that's
the whole
about all
year.
I.
Yeah. That wasn't a firm challenge accepted there, Dan. That was pretty weak. That was pretty weak.
Yeah.
All right, so somebody else in Alabama is going to take that one up.
That's
Dan's
where
on the fence.
Dinkfest came
Maybe
from,
I-
by the way.
That's
where Dinkfest came from. Somebody wanted to see if we could have the
Oh,
smallest fish challenge, and that's where Dinkfest came from. We
Oh.
forced some people into doing it. So
That's
We're
funny.
not
We
gonna-
did that at the Turkey Bowl too. We had a smallish fish prize as well. I think it was like a 3-inch shad was caught.
yes, ours was the
Well,
entire tournament was around catching the smallest fish possible. It was an online month-long deal. So your smallest one had to be 8 inches because of the hog trough. But yeah, that was the challenge.
How did you break a tie?
One
we would just
person
give
got
him
like
points, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
He got, and he's like, I'm it's his name shall not be spoken here, but he won. That's all I'm going to say. It's definitely the first tournament the man's ever won. He got one that was exactly 8 inches.
That
and
tournament was made for him. It was made for him. But yeah, no, the whole point, if we had a tie, we were just going to split the pot. It was just a fun $10 entry fee, go fish it. But he was fired up about it. So
and he's rubbed it in. He's went to other clubs trying to get them to have the same tournament just so he can try to win another one.
But it creates great conversation. It's something to do in the wintertime, and that's the whole point. Let's just keep the conversation going, have fun, and keep it light.
So when was the first event again? Sorry, I missed the date on the Guntersville Open.
March 21st.
March 21st.
And
so
when
the weekend before the NC
National Show?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
you guys are perfect timing here.
Just come down the last week of February and just stay for a month.
Well, so if I go off of what I'm considering, which is what I talked about last week in the podcast, I actually will be on the road for a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the wife and the kids, or at least the wife, come down to Alabama for like a week just so I can have some time with them. Because, I'll be in Alabama for Logan Martin from the weekend of your first tournament. So I'll fish that. Then Hobie in North Carolina, and then back to Guntersville. So I don't know if it makes sense for me to even go home. Maybe I will for like 3 or 4 days and then come right back down. But Alabama, North Carolina, Alabama, all within a 3-4 week span. I might be hitting both those events. We'll see. So
glad to have you.
Yep, it'd be fun.
All right. Well, before we let y'all go, do y'all have any sponsors you want to talk about? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, we actually don't have any sponsors for our trail this year, but we've got some great friends that have supported us. Obviously, NAC is a good sport for us, but like Josh with Big Wheels Outfitters, Lonnie at Coosa Outdoors Center, those guys have been very helpful to us over the years, and we always want to thank them where we can.
I'll say right now, if you're ever thinking about coming to Central Alabama, Coosa Outdoor Center, they are, go down there and fish. If you want to catch one of those Magnum spotted bass that you've heard about down here, that's the place to go catch one. And
very
great
hospitable,
people,
beautiful area.
Great place to come camp, spend time with the family. Yep, good place to go. And Wetumpka, Alabama.
And we're fortunate enough to have several partners that have really helped us out. over the years. Our trail sponsor is Leaf and Creek Outfitters here in Huntsville, and we've also Hook One has been really, really good friends to us and have really helped us out and come to our demo days. We've got the Kayak store, which is just a little south of us. So one of our own owns that and runs it, Tony Dean, and we've got All Sport Power Sports over in Decatur. We're fortunate to have good partners. We've had some good national partners. Jackson has helped us out in the past with several boats for our youth trail. Cabela's and Academy have been invaluable partners for our youth trail and for our main trail. 360 Compass 360 rain gear is our official rain gear for our club, and we were several of us went down and took a trip to Louisiana to hit redfish up about beginning of November, and it looked like a Compass 360 rain gear get together. I mean, that first day is freezing. We're all decked out in all of our stuff that they had supplied. Bending Branches has been a partner of ours from the very beginning, and we're just really fortunate to have good friends and good partners that have invested in us and in the kayaking community in Alabama, and we're fortunate to have them.
That's awesome.
We're fortunate to have y'all on the show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you've done. I mean, if y'all hadn't done what you've done over the last, almost 10 years, 8 years or whatever it is now, if y'all hadn't done that, I wouldn't have anywhere to go fish. So thank y'all too, and everybody else in the state who's been doing it. Well, I really do appreciate it. So
it's all Nate. It's all Nate.
So speaking of that, real quick before we let you guys go, if someone's listening to this podcast, they're in Alabama and they're thinking about getting into kayak fishing, they wanna get in touch with your clubs. How do they go about doing that?
So for us, the best way to reach us is on Facebook, and just search North Alabama Kayak Anglers. We've got a public page, and then we've got a private group where all the shenanigans take place. And you can find a home in one of those two things that meet your needs.
Awesome.
Yeah, for us, it's going to be the Facebook group page as well, Iron City Kayak Anglers, and you'll see some kind of cross-pollination between all our different groups. I think we need to probably mention as well, like there's a group in Gadsden called the Coosa River Kayak Anglers that they've got a Facebook page. Coleman's got a kayak group, Coleman Kayak Anglers. So all those groups are kind of, you have a lot of people that bounce around between the different ones and hang out. So you find one of those, you'll find the rest of them, and you'll find a home somewhere.
Yep.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, like Dan said, thanks for coming on, guys. We really appreciate you. It's been fun talking to you guys, and we look forward to covering your tournaments in the 2020 season, and maybe having you guys back on, having some of your champions on, and best of luck, and hope you guys have a great 2020 season.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Really
absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with some recaps.
This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
All right, everyone, welcome back. We just finished up with a couple epic guests, Nate and Brandon from Alabama, a couple TDs out there doing it the right way. They're in your neck of the woods, Dan. So awesome to have them on. Thanks for reaching out to them and bringing them. Definitely some cool conversation we had there. And I always enjoy listening to people talk about the culture that they have, and the focus being there, than being on the actual tournaments and, AOY and champions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know they were bringing up, maybe there were some hiccups a few years ago, whenever there was something, but every single tournament I fished with both those clubs, and I know last week I said I was going to fish Iron City, but now I'm kind of up in the air. I don't know, because the North Alabama, I love those lakes so much. It's tough, but yeah, every single event that they run I've ever been to is amazingly well run, and especially in North Alabama, they give out so many prizes. It really is like you can just show up, you can pay your money, $30 during the tournament, and there's a good chance you're going to get more than $30 worth of stuff back because they have so many giveaways. Iron City is a little bit smaller, but it's great, guys. It's maybe a little bit closer knit, and we do some smaller bodies of water with them, but also perfectly ran, good guys, and just a good time. I mean, and that's one of the things that kind of just that I love about kayak fishing, because whenever you fish with either one of those trails, it's just fun. Coming from the bass boat side where it was just so cold, and like you show up, you fish, you leave, you go to weigh in, that was it. But there you're hanging out, you're having a good time, you're talking with everybody, you're talking smack on, in a Facebook group, and you get out there and you're helping each other and watching out for each other. It's what kayak fishing is all about, and why it's the best sport in fishing in my mind. The best level or niche of fishing is kayak fishing because of the culture and the community and the fun of it. And they do all kind of things, like North Alabama. They do a boondoggle every year. Like this year, they went down to Delacroix, Louisiana, and they go chase reds and trout and all that. And that's only about just south of New Orleans, and that's probably like 6.5 hours from here. So they go down there and camp, and they do something every year. I think in 2020 they're going down to Florida and going out on the ocean down there. So it's just fun. I'm proud to be a part of it, proud to live in this state, and just proud to be a part of these clubs. So I'm glad they were able to come on.
Hell yeah, man. I'm excited. That Iron City event on Logan Martin, the 29th, man. I just put that on the calendar. I'll be there. So
I'll be there.
Hopefully
too.
you'll be
Let's
there.
do it.
Yep. So I'm excited to meet up with you and fish and fish with this group, and that's kind of one of my goals too. Is if any of these groups that we cover and we talk to, if there's any chance that I can fish an event in conjunction with something, I'm going to do it and support these guys, because the grassroots, man, that's where it's at. That's what it's all about. And, again, that community and that culture, that comes first. So
even if it's only going to be just a practice day for you, it's $30. There's $30. You can you always have a puncher's chance out on Coosa. You can run into a school of mega spots and just get towed around by some spots and have a great time. And it's only $30. And
gonna be on the water anyway. I spend more than $30 on Red Bull each week, so I can handle $30 for an entry fee to support a great group and donate a little money to the locals, more than I already am, with hotels and food and stuff like that. So it's all good.
Cool. Let's do
and
it.
like you said, have a chance to win maybe. But hey, I get to fish with you, follow you around, and learn what to do for the classic. So
Sounds good.
Oh wow, you went right for that. All right, cool. I thought I was gonna get some pushback on the follow you around.
No,
part.
You're good. I don't care. Let's do it. We'll finish 1-2 as long as I'm there.
Okay. Well, you beat me to it. All right. Well, anyway, so we've got an actual recap to do here, which is pretty cool. I've done that for a while, so. We got a little recap here. KBF had their Florida Open. Was dubbed early on the last chance event for the 10 Invitational and the National Championship. So 27 guys signed up for that event. Not too shabby considering it's middle of holiday season and it's in Florida, so it's a long drive for the heart of what I would call the kayak community. 27 guys showed up for that, but only 11 guys put fish in the boat, or at least a fish in the boat. Yeah, brutal. And only one. Well, there's a little bit of a thing that happened there. There was 2 limits caught, but only one angler came in with a limit, that was accepted. The other one, unfortunately, and even bigger, downfall here was the fact that the person who had his fish denied actually would have won the event due to just an unfortunate mistake. It sounds like, he's late, more than 15 minutes late to check in. He had some outdated information, it sounds like, and missed check-in by about 15 minutes. He had 73 inches. All 5 fish were denied, unfortunately. Happens to the best of us. So our winner from Florida was Mr. Dyer, Dwayne Dyer, with 67 inches, 67.25 inches. So, a 5 fish limit nonetheless, but about as small as you can get right there with a 5 fish limit.
Yeah, it was post frontal, definitely tough, and that's really just Florida this time of year. December, January, it can be unbelievable fishing, but if a front comes through, it can be shut down bad and just completely suck. So it sounds like they got the brunt of it. But at least the good thing is the guy who did have a limit, but it wasn't accepted, him and everybody else still got entry into the national championship, so that's a good thing. And
awesome.
And the top 3, they got invitations into the Invitational, so that's cool.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I was expecting a lot of big fish out of this, and like you said, and you'd mentioned that in a previous podcast. Hey, if these guys get post frontal, they shut down lockjaw, and I've heard that before. As well. But we did have one big fish. Big bass was 20.75 inches. That's a good fish right there. Yep. Brian Daly coming in with big bass. So shout out to Brian. And then from there, it was like a 17.75, I think was the next biggest. So won by a long shot, big bass. But a tough event. But like you said, hey, everyone walked away with a little something here, and getting to go to the NC, which is what I would imagine most of these folks were there for. A lot of them from Florida, but we had some Texas, Tennessee, and Indiana guy as well down there. So
you did it.
Pretty cool.
We qualified, Scott. You did it.
Yes.
But the second place was Michael Parker, and third was Frederick Wallets. So congratulations to y'all too as well. That's anytime you get top 3 and you get into the Invitational, that's a good day. Yeah,
and I stand corrected. Brian had the big bass of 20.75 and then also an 18-incher. So he was on the big ends, just couldn't get enough of them to bite that day, like you said, because of the conditions. So, we probably won't have any more recaps, another little lull in that, because we're going into holiday season. Everything starts to kick off late January, it looks like, outside of some fun little, local stuff. But I'm excited for 2020 season and start getting into breaking down these tournaments and how they're being won, and talking to individuals. We're going to do something a little bit different this coming season for 2020. Where instead of bringing on just one person, the winner, we're going to try and bring on multiple people from the tournament, do some round tables like we've done with the Hobie Tournament Champions. We listening to the viewers. You guys seem to really like when we're doing these round tables, so we're going to continue to do that. And with that said, this episode will be the last episode of 2019. We're going to take a little break from podcasting for about 2 weeks. We're going to shut things down, let everybody get a chance to catch up on previous episodes, spend time with their family and friends. We're going to do the same, and then we're going to be back kicking off the new year, January 6th. With another episode, and that episode is actually going to be the tournament director from the Wild West Kayak Bass Fishing Trail. I think I said that right. If not, I'll get it right next week. But excited to talk.
Sounds like it needs a whip with it. Wild West. Sorry,
I like it. Sound effects. But yeah, I'm excited about that one because, I lived out west for a little while. I understand that I know the fishing community out there, and Wild West has been a premier tournament trail out there for those guys. And now they're getting into the kayaking. So I'm excited to talk to them about that. But yeah, that's all we got for this episode. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy
and
Hanukkah.
we'll happy Hanukkah, all those good things. Drink a lot of eggnog, and enjoy time with your family and friends. And we'll see you in 2020.
Wear your PFDs.
Yes, sir.
This is Bucky Buckstabber, founder and executive director of the Fly Fishing Collaborative. At the Fly Fishing Collaborative, also known as FFC, we mobilize the fly fishing community, outdoor enthusiasts, and people of goodwill everywhere to create sustainable solutions to poverty and human trafficking. We have many different initiatives to accomplish this goal, but our primary focus is building organic and environmentally friendly aquaponics farms for communities suffering from trafficking because of a lack of resource. If you're interested in funneling your passion for the outdoors to benefit those that need help the most, then visit flyfishingcollaborative.org.
Josiah Pleasant, Executive Director of Agathos Village here to specifically invite you to positively impact the vulnerable in Juneau, Alaska, in partnership with FFC. Bucky and I have been blessed to be a part of Transformational Impact Abroad and are stoked to bring our lessons learned home to serve the marginalized. If it breaks your heart to know that the vulnerable are literally left out in the cold, don't have community, a home, or healthy food, join us to make a tangible impact by donating or making plans to volunteer with us. You can donate at www.flyfishingcollaborative.org and write Alaska in the notes to help us help others.
Go check out the website, guys. Paddle, the letter N and fin.com. Also check out YouTube, youtube.com/paddle-and-fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle, the letter N and fin @gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're doing giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at Paddle and Fin. Shout out to our show supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Loveland Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com. You could put the Paddle and Fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your JigMasters Jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.